Coach, a routine question. I mean, you had a chance to review the film. What were your impressions of how the team played on Saturday?
I thought we played together pretty good at times. I thought when we didn't play together, it showed. I thought that, we played fast for the most part, which I thought was good as far as the tempo. And then, we got plenty of work to do, but I think we got a week better, so that part was good.
Robbie?
Whenever Dollar Bill went down, brought in a couple of different left tackles. The second time around, you had Nick Jones in there at left tackle, and Stephen Lasoy was in there as well. How did you feel like they did on the left side of the line? And also, do you feel like Nick Jones has worked himself into being a reliable guy if you need him there on the left side?
Well, Nick's been on the left side for a while. I mean, he's, plays guard and tackle both, so he's versatile and he's got really good feet. And then, we try to roll, if we can, about 8 guys. So, and Nick's been one of the 8 from the beginning. And then Lasoy, of course, has emerged as camp went on.
John?
Mike, A&M been incredibly good defensively this year. I think they give up like 11 points per game or something. What sticks out to you the most about them defensively?
They're big, they're big lanky guys and they run well. Once they see the ball, they do a good job chasing the ball. Really, I mean, they're athletic and they run to the ball.
Mike, I know you've said in the past that you hate punting, but George and Archer have put up some pretty impressive numbers so far. As you get into SEC play, these games get tighter, field position matters. How important is it to have those 2 guys putting up that kind of production?
I thought they punted really well, and also if you can stick it on the 6-inch line every time, that'd be good. I think that's what I think they ought to do. No matter how far out we are, they ought to stick it on the 6-inch line, and we'd be in good shape.
Yep.
Going off of that, your punt and kick return game so far is one of the best in the country. What have you seen from that unit as a whole, as well as from Tulu, Xavier, and those guys in particular?
I think we're improving. I think we're getting better. I think we've done a pretty good job blocking it. If we, for the most part, we just got to be disciplined on our blocks, things like that. I think those 2 guys are explosive. I also think they're kind of emerging and getting better and better.
Steve?
Coach, kind of back to the offensive line question. When it comes to like substitutions and rotations and things like that, obviously it's your program, but how much autonomy do you give the assistant coaches to make those decisions? And does it kind of relate to a guy going down, or is it predetermined? How do you kind of coordinate when it comes to like substitution patterns?
Quite a bit. A lot of it's kind of apparent as you go through camp and practice. I mean, for the most part, everybody's on the same page. You're seeing the same film and the same things. And then position coach-wise, I mean, you're kind of gauging, who's doing what and who's in what kind of condition. And so then you operate from there. Who's fresh, who needs a break, and then, but you do try to establish a rotation, and those are hard to establish. Especially with the offensive line where continuity is such an important thing. You try to develop, I mean, everybody tries to develop 2 deep. I don't know anybody that's really gone a true 2 deep. I never have, I've tried to. But if you can get 8 that are really reliable, you'd like at least that.
John?
Mike, after the LSU game, you said it wasn't Will's best outing, but to see him perform the way that he did kind of on Saturday and looking back on the film, how nice was it to kind of see him bounce back in that way, and how did you kind of see him turn the page?
I thought he improved. And I thought the guys around him improved too, and that's one thing tough with the quarterback is what they do. I mean, is they elevate and the guys around them, and the better those guys play, the better the quarterback looks. So it all goes kind of hand in hand.
Kind of the follow-up there on Will. Last year that game at A&M was one where, at least nationally, kind of started to garner some attention. What do you remember from that week and that game? For him to be able to handle that level of opponent in that environment as a true sophomore.
He just kind of focused on his job. That was a good thing. I mean, he didn't make too much out of it. Just focused on kind of the next play in his job. And I thought, just the discipline to do that was good, and, cause it was a place where communication's tough, cause it's really loud. And then, and I thought the calmer he played, the calmer our offensive unit played. And it was a good game. We played really hard, but we played pretty sharp too.
Yep.
Statistically, the defense has done a pretty good job limiting big plays so far. How happy are you with their performance in that area this year?
Nah, they're doing some good. They're like everybody on our team. I mean, we can be a lot better, but we're off to a decent start, I think.
Robbie?
Went up against DJ Durkin last year at Ole Miss. He's at A&M this year. What's that defense look like on film for the first few games at A&M?
Just pretty similar. A lot of zone. They like a lot of zone. They'll change the front some, and then it's very fundamental, which I think is a strength. I think that's a strength when they're very fundamental and they've decided what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. So.
John?
Jimbo Fisher's a guy that's had a lot of success in where he's been, and even this year after the App State loss, I mean, they've rebounded well. What do you think makes him a good coach, and what's your relationship kind of like with him?
I've known him for a long time, and then of course he's just always he's been at it for a long time, and worked at it a long time, and has always been an offensive guy. So yeah, he really just a lot of experience, good experience, and has just kind of built on his career,
Joel?
You and I guess Coach McBath both have experience in the past with Texas A&M when you were at Texas Tech, and I know Coach McBath's a guy that has now played for you and coached for you. I guess kind of a two-part question with Coach McBath. Just what was he like as a player for you, and just I guess what kind of made you want him to be a part of your staffs as you've gone along here as a head coach?
Well, he was a confident guy, an intense guy. He's kind of a powerfully built guy, but he can run. He's always been fast. And then, there's DBs out there playing that probably aren't as good as he is right now. And then, I thought that, just first of all, he's a good player. He's also a very even-tempered guy that, was smart and kind of a student of football. And he was a really good player. And then, of course, went on to the NFL and did real well there. And then, he's always been very stable, very common sense, very clear, demanding when he had to be, but also could build guys up, and just a really good coach. And as a player, you knew he was going to be a pretty good coach, but you also knew that he wasn't going to be done playing after college either. So that's how it unfolded. He's one of those guys where it kind of unfolded how you thought it would.
Steve?
Coach, you were Tech, A&M had some legendary games there, and there's a lot of people there obviously remember your time there. What are your thoughts maybe about that fan base and just kind of about that program historically?
Oh, A&M? Well, it's a great place to play. The fans are fantastic because the fans are truly committed. I mean, as far as around the country, for the A&M fans are truly committed. So it's always great to play in front of people that, where they feel like it's very important. What's happening is very important to them. And of course, Kyle Field's a great place to play, and always an exciting place to play, and it's just a great challenge to go play at Texas A&M. And of course, they hated us for years. I never felt like I really hated them. I'm sure they hated me, but which was fine because your liking me is not mutually exclusive to me, but liking you. If anything, maybe it helps. And then. No, it was. They were great games, and it was fun. It was fun to play Texas A&M, and what a great setting to play. And yeah, no, it was. They were intense games, and it was always intense.
Danny?
Coach, momentum from one game to the next. If you play well, does it necessarily carry over the next game, or does each game have an identity of its own, and you just have to prepare that way?
Kind of both. I've always thought kind of the more work you get done one game, then you can build on it even more the next, and it definitely, momentum does kind of help propel you a little bit, but also, you know, every game is kind of a separate event and a separate week of preparation and a separate segment of the year, and one that needs to be maximized. And that, you know, if you don't maximize it, you're going to get behind, and the more you do maximize it, the better you're going to be from as you grow from one week to the next.
Steph?
Kind of along those lines, your next 4 opponents are ranked opponents. Has this team, maybe being a bit more experienced as one of the ones in the past that you've had here, they kind of learned to not look ahead and see, you know, those 3 games after this one that loom?
I think, I mean, we kind of talk about the day's practice and that sort of thing, and, you know, our schedule, especially what's coming up, would be pretty tough to look ahead, you know. And, you know, we've got some guys, some are smarter than others, but it would be monumentally stupid to look ahead on anybody, you know.
John?
Mike, Arkansas playing A&M last week, your next 2 opponents, were you watching that game live, and what'd you kind of think of that one, the craziness that ended?
I didn't watch it live, watched bits and pieces of it, and of course I watched it on film all day yesterday, so.
Anything else? All right.
All right.